صلوات. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أرأيت الذي يكذب بالدين فذلك الذي يدع اليتيم ولا يحض على طعام المسكين فويل للمصلين الذين هم عن صلاتهم ساهون الذين هم يراءون ويمنعون الماعون. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات. سورة الفاتحة.
بر محمد و آل محمد صلوات. یا رب المشرقین یا رب المغربین یا رب حق زہرا توفیق یہ عطاؤ مرنے سے پہلے یا رب دیدار کربلا ہو. یا رب حق زہرا توفیق یہ عطاؤ مرنے سے پہلے یا رب دیدار کربلا ہو. جو عرض کربلا ہے ہر عرض سے سوا ہے اس خاک کربلا میں شہ کا لہو ملا ہے شہ کا لہو ملا ہے. ہر لا دوا مرض کی یہ خاک ہی دواؤ مرنے سے پہلے یا رب دیدار کربلا ہو. یا رب حق زہرا توفیق یہ عطاؤ مرنے سے پہلے یا رب دیدار کربلا ہو. میں بھی تو ماتمی ہوں ذاکر ہو سیدہ کا نوحہ پرا ہے میں نے ہم شکل مصطفیٰ کا ہم شکل مصطفیٰ کا. اس ذاکری کا میری قسمت میں یہ صلہ ہو مرنے سے پہلے یا رب دیدار کربلا ہو. یا رب حق زہرا توفیق یہ عطاؤ مرنے سے پہلے یا رب دیدار کربلا ہو. یا رب نماز شب میں بس یہ دعا کروں میں کچھ دیر اس زمین پر مجلس بپا کروں میں مجلس بپا کروں میں. ہر ماتمی کے لب پر ہر دم یہی دعا ہو مرنے سے پہلے یا رب दीदार करबला हो या रब हाके ज़हरा तौफीक ये अता हो मरने से पहले या रब दीदार करबला हो मज़लूमियत पे जिसकी रोता है ये ज़माना उस बेखता के दर पर एक बार तो है जाना एक बार तो है जाना जो कर्ज है लहू पर वो इस तरह अता हो मरने से पहले या रब दीदार करबला हो या रब हाके ज़हरा तौफीक ये अता हो मरने से पहले या रब दीदार करबला हो या रब हाके ज़हरा तौफीक ये अता हो मरने से पहले या रब दीदार करबला हो मरने से पहले या रब दीदार करबला हो दीदार करबला हो बर मोहम्मद व आल मोहम्मद सलावत सूरतुल मुबारकतुल फातिहा
There came a time when there was no response. You left me alone, and now you've already gone. I missed you, and now it is too late. I need you, but now just grief awaits. And this is why I bring to you a message that has never been told. A message that the world has seen the seventh heaven cry on. And this is why I give to you a message from Sakina to Abbas. There came a time where you had gone and left me all alone. My feelings, you raised them, and now I'm all exposed. I saw you, we saw you, now where do I begin? The children are waiting, now where do I begin? The skies look down upon all atrocities. The water looked up, waiting for you to reach. I saw your face before you left, and now I feel so cold. My feelings, you raised them, and now I'm all exposed. There came a time where you had gone and left me all alone. My feelings, you raised them, and now I'm all exposed. I looked up and stood up, praying for your return. I looked down and sat down, my life for you I yearn. hoping, crying, waiting for you to turn my cheek. Soon now will face the burning pain. I saw your arms divide in two, and now I can't behold my feelings. You raised them, and now I'm all exposed. There came a time where you had gone and left me all alone. My feelings, you raised them, and now I'm all exposed. My lion, my uncle, your story is untold. When you left to fetch water, what secrets did unfold? Your thirsty heart's burning like a red-hot coal of flame. Not a drop touched your lips as you remembered your Hussein. My father could not bring you back, and now his back has broke. My feelings, you raised them, and now I'm all exposed. There came a time where you had gone and left me all alone. My feelings, you raised them, and now I'm all exposed. There's fear now, it's clear now, his eyes have fallen red. The ladies and orphans running from tent to tent. Your arms, your eye are for the love of one. Now trials continue under the bright and burning sun. In ropes and chains we leave this place, but mourn forevermore. Your courage, your patience, your flag will always call. Abbas, I prayed for your success, and to Allah you soared. Your courage, your patience, your flag will always call. Salawat.
Bar Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad salawat. Moment in today's 2 minutes lecture will be by Master Mehdi Abdullah. Please welcome him with the loudest Nare Salawat.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Dear respected elders, brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum. Death to me is sweeter than honey. Hazrat Qasim alayhi salam, the son of our second Imam, Imam Hussain alayhi salam, was one of those who fought bravely on the 10th of Muharram. It is often narrated that he was just 13 years old on the day of Ashura, making him one of the youngest of Imam Hussain alayhi salam's family, who gave his life for the cause. There was a time when Hazrat Qasim alayhi salam said to his mother, "When I go onto the battlefield and I get killed, I don't want you to feel sad." Farwa said back, "I will not shed a tear, but I will love you." Imam Hussain heard all of this, and when Ashura day arrived, Hazrat Qasim went up to Imam Hussain and said to him, "Let me go onto the battlefield." Imam Hussain said, "No, stay back with your mother, since you are the only son she has." Then Hazrat Qasim remembered a letter from his father, Imam Hassan alayhi salam, had written that he gave to Imam Hussain to read. When Imam Hussain finished reading the letter, he said, "Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un." You can go onto the battlefield. As Hazrat Qasim went onto the battlefield, Imam Hussain gave him a turban and a horse to walk onto the battlefield. When Hazrat Qasim had arrived, he said to the enemies, "One by one duel me." The enemies listened and did what Hazrat Qasim said to them, but then they realized that he was a really good fighter and they stood no chance if they did one-on-one. So they all attacked him at once and he got struck on the head by a sword. When Hazrat Abbas saw this, he was about to go onto the battlefield until Imam Hussain stopped him. This event of Karbala specifically teaches us about the courage that we should try and possess of the Shia of Ali and the lovers of Hussain, as well as trying to honor our parents. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bara Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat.
Mu'minin, one loud salawat for Master Mehdi Abdullah for his presentation. Bar Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad salawat. Bar Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum jamia wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Morning, tonight's Rouhani Majlis announcements. Majlis by Al-Haj Amir Ali Bhai Muhammad Ali Walji for the Saleh Sawab of Marum Muhammad Ali Bhai Walji, Maruma Zainab Bhai Muhammad Ali Walji, Maruma Kanize Fatima Muhammad Ali Walji, Marum Mohsin Bhai Muhammad Ali Walji and Kul Marumins. Majlis by the family of Marum Al-Haj Ramzan Ali Muhammad Ali Walji for the Saleh Sawab of Marum Ramzan Ali Muhammad Ali Walji, Marum Muhammad Ali Bhai Walji, Maruma Shirin Bhai Muhammad Ali Walji, Maruma Maryam Bhai Muhammad Ali Walji, Maruma Salma Bhai Walji, Marum Ali Bhai Bhimji, Maruma Kulsum Bhai Bhimji, Marum Akbar Bhai Padani, Marum Muhammad Karim Rahmatullah and Kul Marumins. Majlis by the family of Marum Al-Haj Amir Ali Bhai Jamal Datu for the Saleh Sawab of Marum Muhammad Taqi Bhai Hussain Karim, Maruma Amina Bhai Haji Muhammad Abdullah, Maruma Sugra Bhai Ramji and Kul Marumins. Majlis by Al-Haj Abdul Bhai Hirji for the Saleh Sawab of Marum Ghulam Hussain Bhai Hirji, Maruma Marzia Bhai Hirji, Marumins of Hirji family, Marumins of Pirawali family and Kul Marumins. Majlis by Dr. Al-Haj Murtaza Bhai Walji and family for the Saleh Sawab of Maruma Gulzar Bhai Parapia, مرحوم یوسف علی قاسم علی پاراپیا, مرحوم Fatima Bai Hussain Walji, مرحوم Hussain Mohammed Walji and Kul Marhumins. You are humbly requested recite Surah Fatiha for Kul Marhumins. Al-Fatiha. Mu'minin, I am going to remind you again, the reminder has been sent several times. Yesterday was a reminder sent out. Several times today the reminder has been sent out. And about a couple of minutes ago, the Secretary General had sent a reminder out today regarding today's Majlis. Please note, this evening Majlis, Wednesday, the 2nd of July, the eve of the 7th of Muharram, will not be suitable for children under the age of 12 due to the nature of the content being discussed. To support this, the following arrangements have been made. Girls up to 12 years of age and boys up to 10 years of age, all children workshop will be held during the Majlis time. Please note, boys aged between 10 to 12 years, a separate arrangement has been made for those group as well. We kindly request all children, please be taken upstairs just before 8 p.m. to join the appropriate session. We will highly appreciate for your cooperation. Bar Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad salawat.
صلوات. جب ردا سر سے چھنی میں صدا دیتی رہی تو نہ آیا غازی جب ردا سر سے چھنی میں صدا دیتی رہی تو نہ آیا غازی آل عمران کہا اور زندان کہا یہ بہن قید ہوئی تو نہ آیا غازی جب ردا سر سے چھنی میں صدا دیتی رہی تو نہ آیا غازی ہم کو پانی نہ ملے تیری خوشبو تو رہے تیرے بازو نہ کٹے چاہے مشکی زاچھ دے یہ مگر ہو نہ سکا تیرے بازو ہے جدا مجھ پہ ہے تشنالبی تو نہ آیا غازی جب ردا سر سے چھنی میں صدا دیتی رہی تو نہ آیا غازی دھوپ میں تو تھا شجر تجھ سے آباد تھا گر ہے برہنا میرا سر کیا نہیں تجھ کو خبر اے علمدار وفا اس بہن کو بخدا تجھ سے داراس تھی بری تو نہ آیا غازی جب ردا سر سے چھنی میں صدا دیتی رہی تو نہ آیا غازی کیا کہوں شعر میرے بیردا ہم کو لیے یہ مسلمان سارے شہر در شہر گئے خلقت کوفہ کبھی خلقت شام کبھی اور رہا ہم پہ ہنسی تو نہ آیا غازی جب ردا سر سے چھنی میں صدا دیتی رہی تو نہ آیا غازی کتنی بے بس تھی بہن اے شہنشاہ اے وفا نام لے لے کے میرا جب یہ ظالم نے کہا ناز تھا جس پہ تجھے اب بلاؤ نہ اسے اور میں روتی رہی تو نہ آیا غازی جب ردا سر سے چھنی میں صدا دیتی رہی تو نہ آیا غازی جب ردا سر سے چھنی میں صدا دیتی رہی تو نہ آیا غازی محمد وعلی محمد صلوات سورة المباركة الفاتحة
صلوات नारे तकबीर, नारे रिसालत, नारे हैदरी। कासिम ने कहा दिल से कि अब क्या है इरादे, कासिम ने कहा दिल से कि अब क्या है इरादे। सबीर को घेरे है सवार और प्यादे, सबीर को घेरे है सवार और प्यादे। ऐसा न हो कोई नाम मोहब्बत का मिटा दे, ऐसा न हो कोई नाम मोहम्मद का मिटा दे। मरने का यही वक्त है हिम्मत जो खुदा दे, मरने का यही वक्त है हिम्मत जो खुदा दे। देखा सुए सबीर जो हिम्मत की नज़र से, देखा सुए सबीर जो हिम्मत की नज़र से। तलवार उछलने लगी कासिम की कमर से। सलवात।
बर Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad salawat. Can I please humbly request boys aged between 10 to 12, a separate arrangement for you have been made upstairs. Be kind enough to go upstairs and leave Husainiya as soon as possible before the Majlis starts. Bar Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad salawat. Mu'minin with our loudest nare salawat, please let's welcome Sheikh Mohammed Hilli for tonight's lecture. Bar Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad salawat.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين، ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف خلقه وخاتم أنبيائه وسيد رسله سيدنا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع ذنوبنا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد. وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المطهرين المكرمين. السلام عليك سيدي ومولاي يا أبا عبد الله، وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. قال الله العظيم في كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا قوا أنفسكم وأهليكم نارا وقودها الناس والحجارة. آمنا بالله صدق الله العلي العظيم. For the purification of the souls, the enlightenment of the hearts, the acceptance of the deeds, and for the hastening of the reappearance of the awaited Saviour, Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farajah Sharif, enlighten your souls and the atmosphere with the recitation of salawat upon Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Respected elders, sisters and brothers, Salamun alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. This has affected many in the Western world, and it is now a topic of national and international conversation. It is a subject that's worried many parents far and wide as they struggle with the journey of parenthood, and it's one that the religion of Islam has emphasized upon. Key lessons must be applied and learnt, practical points must be understood, and indeed inspired from the 10th of Muharram. Adolescence, smartphones, screens, addiction, social media, pornography. These are terms that are often used collectively together to describe an important feature that is being witnessed around the world today. When it comes to children and indeed teenagers and the usage of the internet, when they go online, what they're exposed to, what behaviors we are witnessing, you'll find this topic has indeed worried, and it is alarming for many parents across the world. When I travel, for example, far and wide to Canada, to Australia, the United States, in Europe, indeed India, Pakistan, Middle East, you'll find many parents expressing the same sentiments. They are saying we are losing our children to screens. We are worried about the impact that smartphones are having upon our children. Many a times, we see from a young age children being given these particular gadgets. Many adults sometimes joke that my kids know how to use smartphones and screens better than I do. Sometimes you see 3 2-year-olds are able to unlock these iPads and these gadgets, and you say, Subhanallah, they've learned how to use the iPad before they've learned anything about Islam or Salah. The recognition today that you and I are faced with this incredibly challenging situation. Statistics are worrying. In the United Kingdom, it is being shown that when it comes to online access, when it comes to children between 8 and 17, they spend on average between 2 to 5 hours online every day. At the same time, those who are over 12, nearly all children in the United Kingdom above the age of 12 have a smartphone. When they are asked about this smartphone, the vast majority say it's good for their mental health. Children believe that it's good for them. However, at the same time, 1 in 5 of these children are able to disable parental controls when it comes to their smartphone. This conversation became more important this year in March. Why? There was an important national British drama of 4 series by the name of Adolescence on Netflix. In its first week or 2, it was watched by over 100 million people. And until today, it is the second most viewed production in Netflix ever. This was something that caused many people to talk about. What is this adolescence? It was so important as a fictional story that even the UK Prime Minister said, I watched it, I made my family watch it, and it has been now decided that through the UK Parliament, it will be shown across all schools free by Netflix. What is it that this particular 4-part British drama seeks to indicate? It is about a 13-year-old boy who, because of influence on social media and a culture based on incel. What is incel? The idea that boys blame girls for their inability to find sexual partners, and the usage of different emojis thereafter goes and commits murder. He kills another teenage girl. When this takes place, whilst he's arrested, the parents feel a great sense of shame and remorse. They start to blame themselves. And a number of conversations takes place regarding this particular issue. Now, some people might say, don't jump the gun. This is just a TV series, okay? There are many who are concerned when they see this, but does this happen in real life? No doubt. We have many similar incidents that have happened. For example, last year, a lady in this country came and saw that her 12, 13-year-old boy had died in his room. She was shocked. Until now she's campaigning. What is it that she saw? She saw that he had taken part, what she believes, in a game known as blackout, that he has to hold his breath as long as possible. Clearly he suffocated or that he died. The realization that emerges today when it comes to addictions, screens, smartphones, pornography, these things, many of us may dismiss them. Many of us may think it's not as important. I always joke that some of the parents, no doubt, live in Mars, their kids live in Venus. In other words, they are in a different planet. I sometimes personally, through the organization that I run, we run bulugh classes for boys from the age of 12 to 15. These bulugh classes, online or in person, involve discussion regarding these taboo subjects. I often say to the parents that I will discuss subjects like pornography and masturbation. I'm shocked that these parents, some of them come back to me and say, my 12-year-old, mashallah, such an angel. He's never heard these before, so I don't want him to take part in those sessions. I say to them, you need to wake up and smell the karak chai. Many of you think that your son or indeed daughter is so innocent, but what they have been exposed on social media, movies, cartoons, other productions, these short clips, TikTok, is way beyond many of us are able to comprehend and indeed understand. That's why in Australia they passed a law that made under 16s not allowed to what? Be on social media. Many of these sites, Instagram, whatever, are now in the position that by December this year they must put many restrictions to ensure that anyone under 16 is not using it. In this country, because of the sensitivity and the delicate nature of what's happening to our children, to other children in society, the United Kingdom passed the law, Online Safety Act. This law seeks to ensure that, for example, material that promotes self-harm, suicide, extreme pornography, things like this, there are age restrictions, there are no promotions, that when it comes to algorithms, these kinds of programs that encourage the viewing of such material, they are what? Controlled. But it is much less than what we expect and what you and I as believers are seeking to establish and do. Why? Because without a shadow of a doubt, we cannot compare ourselves as mu'mineen, mu'minat to others when it comes to tarbiyah and the upbringing of our children. The religion of Islam has come forward and placed great emphasis on the status of parents. How many times we recite verses and hadith regarding the honor that Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala has given to parents. You speak to many parents today and they're petrified of their responsibility. It comes with reward, but it's also at the same time a measure of us recognizing what is it that we have to do. Meaning that today the challenge is set for parents, especially in the Western world. They need to recognize that Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala says, you cannot ignore this trend. You cannot turn away. Some parents haven't got a clue what's happening inside the room when their child is on that phone or at school or when they are with their friends. They don't investigate. They've just given these gadgets to their children. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala says, Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu, qu anfusakum wa ahlikum nara. O you who believe, you are responsible in protecting yourself and your family from Jahannam. Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. He says in a narration, لَإِنْ يُؤَدِّبْ أَحَدُكُمْ وَلَدَهُ خير له من أن يتصدق بنصف صاع كل يوم. If a parent makes it a priority, Amir al-Mu'mineen says, in the journey of tarbiyah, the correct upbringing, and not leaving it towards what? Mimbar and madrasa. That's for me, of course. Meaning what? Sometimes some parents say, it's okay, I take my child to madrasa, I am able to bring them to mosque, they'll listen to the majalis. That is my responsibility. Amir al-Mu'mineen says, no, the buck stops with you, father and mother. Sometimes, as we will discuss, some fathers leave this to the mother. I'm very busy, I'm always out, it's not my duty. Amir al-Mu'mineen says, if you invest in this, it is greater in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than if you were to donate and give sadaqah of 1.5 approximately kilos of gold or silver. How much is it worth to give 1.5 kilos of gold? You might think, mashallah, the thawab will be amazing. And Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala will give me so much reward. The recognition is, it's very sensitive. Why? Because there is what is known as the soft war today taking place before our own eyes. If you haven't come across this term, please Google it or ChatGPT it. Meaning what? There is what's known as the hard war and the soft war. Hard war is when nations, ideologies wanted to get certain ideas across, they would force it upon people by invading them, by forcing them to adopt certain principles, practices and ideologies. Now, after this theory of soft war was developed by an individual by the name of Joseph Nye, he's an American social scientist. This was many years ago. The idea is, no, we don't need to invade nations. We don't need to force people. We have the cinema. We have the movies. We have the video games. We have the music industry and we have social media. We will ensure that those on it will be influenced and ideas given to them, and therefore they will begin to adopt it subconsciously without necessarily knowing. And this is a realization that parents need to be very, very clear about themselves, and indeed when it comes to their children. Today I am fascinated not with a positive sense, from a disappointing lens. I sit with some of the youth, and honestly, you might be surprised, but they tell me, we are Muslims, and Allah wants justice and human rights. Therefore, there is nothing wrong in standing up for the rights of the LGBTQ+++ community. Because, they are wronged. So why shouldn't we stand up for people who are being oppressed? The normalization of immoral behavior and practices is all subliminal, being given through these kinds of mediums. You and I think our child is what? Playing a particular game, sitting there playing Fortnite or these games is okay. That's like, something that is occupying their mind. There are many things happening to the way they think, what is there being fed. And this is not a conspiracy theory. Without a shadow of a doubt, it's been shown and it's been spoken about by Muslims and non-Muslims alike. Our sixth Imam, Ja'far ibn Muhammad al-Sadiq, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, instructs parents to take an active role, to indeed realize the dangers that are facing our children and our youth. In a narration, he says, "Badiru awladakum bil hadith." Go and speak to your children. Investigate what's happening. Don't leave it. Why? قَبْلَ أَنْ يَسْبِقَكُمْ إِلَيْهِمْ الْمُرْجِئَةِ. At that time, there was a group known as Murji'ah. They used to influence children and others. What? Why? They used to say, listen, what's in your heart matters. Doesn't matter what you do in reality. If you don't do good deeds, it's fine. Allah will judge you by what's in your heart. Wallahi, I heard this on Facebook and Instagram only this week. You would think that the group Murji'ah are extinct, but people are still thinking the same. Don't judge me what I wear. Judge what's in my heart. Yes, one of the ulama once, I don't know whether it's a right thing to say or not, from the minbar said, what? Do you want Allah to put your heart in Jannah and your body in Jahannam? Is that the way you want? Yes. The recognition that exists is what? Is today Imam alayhi salam is saying that there are many dangerous movements. movements that I'm not seeking to petrify and to make it all gloomy and doom for parents, because it's a reality we have to face. Screens, addiction, these kind of things are important discussions. Hence the minbar, hence the sensitivity of the topic, hence the need to look at practical ways by analyzing the number of important questions that I'm going to present, inshallah ta'ala. Number one, what are these gadgets and screens and addictions causing for our children's mental health? Number two, what does the religion of Islam say regarding the causes of all this? Where is this coming from? Number three, what is one addiction that needs to be spoken about? And this addiction causing much problems in our communities and outside? And what are the tips to deal with this type of addiction relating to screens? Number four, why is it that today we find a dangerous trend, and that is fathers not playing a role in the upbringing of their sons and daughters? And how do we tackle this? Number five, what are 10 things parents, both mother and father, as well as others, need to do in order to ensure that screens and addiction to these are minimized and protected against? And finally, number six, how is it that we can be looking up to the 10th of Muharram, to the youth of Ashura, to those who sacrificed their life, including those we may never have heard of, such as the two sons of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. We are going through an epidemic of childhood mental health disorder. These are the words of an award-winning author by the name of Jonathan Haidt, who has written a book, The Anxious Generation, The Rewiring of Childhood, which for 52 weeks was amongst the New York bestseller and has sold millions of copies across the world. This particular author comes forward and says that there has been a shift in the way children are brought up from 2010 onwards. Children approximately were born in 1995, and when they became teenagers around 2008, 2009, began to go through their teens, there has been a shift in the way that that they have experienced mental health. Please understand this. Scientific evidence, and he presents it in his book, which I have alhamdulillah read, but I will summarize for you. What does he say in this book? He says we are having mental health crisis when it comes to our children. In which way? He says because of underprotection as a result of usage of screens that started from 2010 onwards. And then he puts statistics when first Instagram came about, Facebook, other kinds of social media, how this was promoted. There has been a great rewiring of childhood from play-based upbringing to online upbringing. He says children pre-2010, they used to play more outside. But because of parents' worry in the 90s, and in the early 2000s, this began to reduce. And as a substitute, what happened was that now children after 2010 began to interact, socialize, spend more time on screens rather than outside and playing. And this, he says, has had devastating results across the world, but especially in Western countries. How? He says, if you look at statistics, it has resulted statistically significant rise in rates of self-harm, suicide, anxiety, depression. And he points the statistics very clear. He says this is not only in America, the same in the United Kingdom, in Canada, but markedly worse in the Western world than in Asia. He says Asia, the rates are less. Likewise, statistics have shown that screens and addiction have impacted girls more than boys. But boys have an addiction more than girls to certain aspects of this kind of This kind of usage. He says there are 4 major implications of screens and the usage of internet and online for our adolescents, for the teens and children. Please understand these four, because maybe you and I have a son or a daughter who's going through one of these four, and we need to start to tackle this. Number one, he says that this has resulted in social deprivation. What do we mean? As a result of increasing usage of screens, there's been a marked increase in anxiety and depression because children are meeting other children less frequently. Adolescents and teenagers are no longer associating themselves or going out and meeting their peers as much as before. So, statistics have shown that today, because of this, there is more cases of what? Of mental health disorders such as stress, depression, and anxiety. Whereas studies have shown kids and adolescents who have friends, who go out more, but also who have sports participation, and they go to religious gatherings. It's interesting that he's included this in the studies, have experienced less mental health problems. Number one. Number two, this increasing usage of being online has resulted in sleep deprivation. So, 36 studies pooled together have shown that today children are sleeping less than they used to back when screens were introduced, which has resulted in what? Less concentration, lower performance in schools, and reactions, and of course, impact on mental health. Number three, attention fragmentation. Listen to these statistics. The book says each and every child or teenager who has a phone gets on average 192 alerts a day, which is 11 alerts per hour, which is 1 alert every 5 minutes. As a result, this has interfered in the what? Interfered in the development of the child. Interfered in the development and the way the child what is able to grasp information, because they have what now? A shorter attention span. They're constantly bombarded with these notifications. So therefore, they can't focus. They can't necessarily keep their attention for a long time towards something. And the fourth thing that has been shown through evidence and scientific study is addiction. More and more kids and adolescents today are addicted to screens. In which way? They feel they can't do without them. And there is now a term known as doom scrolling, where they hold, for example, the phone, and they go to these social media platforms and they constantly scroll, not for more than what? A few seconds. A social media expert spoke to me. He says to me, listen, your videos are doing well, but if you want them to do well, better on TikTok, you need to do this. I said, what is it? He said, your videos are 1 minute, but these teenagers, they will give you 10 seconds. You attract their attention in 10 seconds, great. Otherwise, it's khuda hafiz. Scroll straight away. 10 seconds on TikTok. That's it. Not more than that. You grab their attention. And so there is a science today. There are billions of dollars being spent on how to ensure that that particular attention is grabbed straight away and that focus is given. The more they are able to spend on that particular clip, the more the purpose of these platforms becomes materialized. The question, therefore, that is important in the minds of you and I, and that is Islamically, when we are presented with this, we realize that there are causes. The teachings of the religion of Islam has in no shape or form ignored what is happening. There are a number of reasons why this is taking place. Number one, the Quran says this dunya has two things. Laghu and lahu. إنما هذه الحياة الدنيا لهو ولعب. Number one. This world, this existence is full of distractions and means by which people's attention are diverted. And there is no doubt when it comes to screens and social media, this is fulfilling this objective. Our sixth Imam, Ja'far ibn Muhammad al-Sadiq, salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. He says in a famous narration, a disobedient individual wastes their time through lahu. An obedient individual to Allah guards their time through dhikr. In other words, there is the impulsive need to what? Kill time. I never understand the idea that some people say, I need to kill time. What do we mean? This time that Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala has given us is a means of responsibility that will be asked upon on the day of Qiyamah. So why is it that you want to kill time? I know you mean that you're bored. I know you mean that you don't know what to do with yourself. But every minute Quran says you will be held accountable. وَقِفُوهُمْ إِنَّهُمْ مَسْئُولُونَ. Kill the sentence, kill time. Don't ever use it. Because this time is a means by which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has indeed given you an eye. Number two, the religion of Islam comes forward and says you cannot separate these tools from a major influence in our lives that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given, that being the ability to what? To whisper, and that's shaitan. I've always said there is shaitan in our what? In our offline interactions. And there is shaitan online. And the shaitan online is called shaitan. No doubt. This shaitan plays a pivotal role. Look at the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in chapter 7 verse 16 and 17 says the following. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Shaitan himself says, this is what I'm going to do. And I want you to think about this, how it's applied to screens and social media. He says, قَالَ فَبِمَا أَغْوَيْتَنِي. He says to Allah, you have led me astray. So what I'm going to do? لَأَقْعُدَنَّ لَهُمْ صِرَاطَكَ الْمُسْتَقِيمِ. I will sit right in front of the صراط المستقيم. ثم لآتينهم من بين أيديهم ومن خلفهم وعن أيمانهم وعن شمائلهم. But I will try to infiltrate and whisper and attack them head on, from back, from their right and from their left. So I won't leave any angle without me being there. Ulama of Mufassirin have come forward and said, when it comes to shaitan saying that I, for example, will influence them on their right, this means through amalus salih. Shaitan will come to you and say, you're doing a good deed. This good deed is not worth in the eyes of God. You're not doing it for His sake, so don't do it. Just before I came here, I was answering some of the questions on my app. Somebody sent me this question. He said, I pray, I fast, I go ziyarah, I do hajj, umrah, I do everything, but I feel that I'm worthless, I'm nobody. That I feel that Allah is going to punish me in hell. So what's the point? Notice, shaitan has come in through these a'mal. He has said to him, what you're doing has no value. This is one plot of the shaitan. Another is coming through what? Is coming from behind or from the front. In every direction there is shaitan. I ask you, when it comes to screen, does this apply or not? Yes, without a shadow of a doubt. How many times when we are on these platforms, we get suggestions? How many times we're led from one video to another, from one clip to another, from one account to another? And whatever happens, you see yourself what? All of a sudden lost. All of a sudden time has passed due to the need to continuously get that dopamine high, that happy hormone. You see individuals being showered with what? Suggestions to keep themselves on the screen as much as indeed possible. That's why our sixth Imam says what shaitan does is مَعْنَاهُ أُهُوِّنُ عَلَيْهِمُ الْآخِرَةِ. Please understand this. When I sit with these youngsters and I speak to them when they're 12, 13, 14, 15, a major reason why they're on their screens a lot, or they're playing video games for hours, or for example, they're hooked on social media. They say we find Islam boring. We find the religion not interesting. We find discussions like this not meeting our needs. We'll just do it. I'll come to mosque. I'll listen to the lecture. I'll do my prayers if I have to. Yes? I'll do everything else. But it doesn't appeal to me. What appeals to me is that game. What appeals to me is that competition. What appeals to me is to see this pop star or this sports individual, what he's wearing, what he's saying. That's what appeals to me. Yes? These things are not necessarily interesting. Shaitan is doing this. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, what does he say? He says the goal of shaitan is to make you and I forget akhirah. make sure that we do not think about the other existence and seek pleasure in this world only. Hence, one of the most devastating addictions that we see today, that unfortunately is taboo but needs to be discussed from the minbar. And I know some will say, what's going on? Why are you discussing this subject? I ask you, if we do not discuss addiction to pornography and these indecent sites, where do we get the information towards the masses, towards the people? In other words, this is something that is silently impacting many in our communities. But people, of course, would not come out because of the shame, because of the feeling of disgrace that they would go through. In other words, they do not tell people that they're hooked towards these filthy or indecent sites. But unfortunately, we have a problem. And statistics tell us we do. In which way? 30%, and these statistics are from today, not from a long time ago. 30% of the global internet usage is pornography. Let that sink in. 50% of adults have said they have accessed it. 87% of men in the United States, in a recent survey, said that they have clicked on these sites at least once in the last month. 87% of men. 11% in the United States have self-reported addiction to pornography and pornographic sites. In the United Kingdom, 20% of 13 to 14-year-old boys have said they've accessed these sites at least once a month. And these are people who are willing to say they have. Yes. Therefore, the recognition that immediately emerges is this topic needs to be looked at. Why? Because some of these youth, some of these adolescents, some of these youngsters may be suffering in silence. Maybe not seeking help. They don't know what is going on. And the problem with every addiction is if you don't stop the cycle, it only gets worse. You can't get yourself out of that vicious loop. You're stuck and stuck. And today, when I deal with marital cases and problems, these begin to emerge. These begin to surface. When a lady comes and says that my husband, when it comes to the physical intimacy, it is not how it should be, I investigate further. I find that in his adolescence and in his teenage, he was hooked to pornography. And therefore, it had that devastating impact later on in life when it comes to his physical relationship. The realization, therefore, is you and I, as parents and even educators, madrasa teachers, needs to be trained on this. Understand what do we do and how do we present this towards our children. Here, I will give 10 tips of how we present this topic towards kids. In other words, children who are teenagers and may be going through this addiction or habit and are not saying anything. How do we ensure that this is stopped? Number one, of great importance, and that is by inculcating in them the spirit of asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for strength to end this habit. Nothing will happen before the will of Allah and the great mercy of Rabbil Alameen. So we need to encourage our youngsters and say, listen, if, God forbid, you're one of those who constantly looks at these images or accesses them, yes, you need to first and foremost turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and ask Him sincerely. For Allah Jalla wa Ala will help you. He is on your side. He wants you to stop. Because what? The Prophet of Islam, peace be upon him and his family, says, Ad-du'a'u silahul mu'min. Dua is the weapon of the believer. And we are in a battle, no doubt. Number two, we need to be equipped with the understanding of the devastating physiological and physical and spiritual harms of pornography. In which way? For example, we present the idea that this is a drug, and a drug that seeks short-term gratification as a result of the need to boost one's feeling of satisfaction and joy, which comes because of dopamine. So we need to introduce dopamine into the lives of our children. that, listen, this is a hormone. The brain wants it. Once you look at these images, what happens? You want to look more and more because it's short-lived. It doesn't give you happiness. It gives you a buzz. You immediately go through a rush of joy, and all of a sudden you go through crashing down. Then you need to go up even further. And that's why there is what is known as the Coolidge effect. Please understand this. When it comes to these indecent images, what's the Coolidge effect? A Coolidge effect is those who are, God forbid, addicted to these sights and these images. Once they start watching, they want to go further and watch more extreme versions. Because now the soft versions are no longer fulfilling their needs. So they go into the hard. Why? Because they need to fulfill that which is in them, where that brain signals that now pushes for more dopamine. So they go even further and descend even more. And it corrupts the heart to that extent. It pollutes the soul. We need to talk about the impact when it comes to health. We need to talk about the impact when it comes to the soul. That an individual who unfortunately becomes addicted to these kind of practices will not find joy as far as their spiritual connection to God, will not find success later on in life. They will spoil their adulthood. They will devastate their chances of success in life. So we need to highlight these impacts that today has been shown. And the difficulty of getting out of an addiction, because it is no doubt a form of addiction. Number 3, we must understand triggers, traps, and algorithms. What happens online is that there are traps of shaitan. Meaning what? Maulana, it was just a small clip of, a man or a woman, maybe doing something simple. It's okay. It's not nothing serious. Immediately that plants something in the heart. There is a black dot. What goes on is the audacity to see and to look at something worse. And all of a sudden it becomes normalized. All of a sudden it becomes something that is what? That is acceptable. Something which is no longer heavy on the soul, because I've gradually began to see something which is worse and worse. These are triggers, and this is what the algorithm will then do. It will begin to suggest more and more until you find yourself completely hooked on these things. Number 4, of great importance, we recognize that there are health impacts when somebody is addicted to pornography. Today, science has shown of the what? Of the inability of some of the boys to what? To perform certain actions without going into detail because of the rise in practices which are unacceptable in Islam, such as masturbation and so on. And therefore you'll find that they will minimize it. They think it's fine. They're saying it's something that is relieving themselves. But gradually it's having a detrimental impact. And the problem here is that there are people online and individuals from the non-Muslim communities who will come and say to the child, it's healthy, it's good, it's something you should be doing. So we are at the position to counter that narrative and ensure that that does not get to the minds of our kids. Number 5, there is always a justification given after looking at these things. In which justification? The shaitan says, you come to mosque, you pray, you are a good person. One clip, one image is fine. You ask tawbah from Allah, everything will be fine. That belittling of the sin. Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib, salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi, famously says, don't look at the sin and whether it's small or big. Look at whom you are disobeying. The recognition is these small sins become larger. These small sins will then become what? Something that will impact. If we can ask, please, no movement as much as possible because it's distraction. Jazakumullah khair. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Therefore, what happens is when an individual is going through this kind of practices, they must never justify to themselves that I have looked at this and therefore it's okay. They must always feel a sense of guilt. We teach our children to feel guilty and to what? And to ensure that they know it's not something light or small. Likewise, number 6, the eyes are gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We must never practice khiyana, betrayal. Because the Holy Fourth Imam says, as much as the ears are the path to the heart, the eyes are also a path to the soul. Meaning that what I see impacts my heart. What I look at impacts the way I approach ibadah. These images, they will imprint. These videos, they will stay. They will then be played in the minds of our kids and, God forbid, our adults who are also on this, and they cannot take them away except after a few days. Therefore, the recognition that emerges is what? Is that it has a long-term impact. It's like something in which the negative results of it does not disappear because you have stopped doing it. Number 7, it's okay to seek help. It's fine to seek assistance of people who are professionals. If we deliver this message to our youngsters, that we will not judge them. Our teenagers, you will not be all of a sudden labeled or condemned. People make mistakes. People make errors. Let's welcome them back. It's okay. If you're hooked, if you're addicted, what we'll do is we'll make sure we'll help. We'll get someone who will sit with you and help you. You'll go through courses to ensure that this addiction is what? Is defeated. For example, what do we do in these courses or these workshops? We instruct that this struggle at the beginning is the hardest. 1 month without this, it's tough. You occupy yourself with something else. You do something else which is halal, but never return to this. And that's the only way to break the cycle. Yes? Number 8 of great importance. We must fill our youth's time, which is sometimes filled with pornography due to boredom or due to unmet needs or pain. Why do people access these sites? Yes, they have desires that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them only to be fulfilled through legitimate ways, through marriage. Yet sometimes it's because they don't have anything to do. They feel that it's something that they can what? Spend the time doing. So we must offer alternative activities. We must be able to engage so that we find out as parents, for example, do they have so much time? Are we providing them with other activities or are they hooked on the screens? Number 9 of great importance, there is a tool today that if somebody is addicted to something or they want to stop something, they can use, which is what? Called CAT. Please understand this. Counter ambush training. They say when somebody wants to do something that they're not supposed to. Let's give a simpler example, and that is they want to stop themselves from eating that which they shouldn't. Something that they have decided that they should not be eating. They've decided that, you know what, I want to lose weight. And they find themselves in Dar es Salaam presented with nundu. Now it's in front of them. They've been invited by somebody. What does the brain say? It's okay, just have a bit. All of a sudden, you are attacked and ambushed. The brain is now looking at this. The eyes are sending signals. Now the thoughts are ambushed. And all of a sudden, you find yourself eating. What you need to do is counter-ambush it. How do you do it? By sending a message to the brain, I'll eat it, but in 10 minutes. Delay. How is this important? You need to move from that place where the nundu is there. Or in the case of pornography, what? Remove yourself and go somewhere else. And say, 10 minutes, I'll watch it. 10 minutes. Science has shown the moment you take yourself out of those situations, you all of a sudden counter-attacked the ambush. And now you're in a better position to say, oh, alhamdulillah, I didn't eat it. I can just have the mishkaki now. Therefore, the recognition that emerges is use this counter-ambush. 10 minutes, move aside. And the final thing is we speak to our youngsters, to our children. We say to them, my dear loving son, daughter, this practice will have an impact on your ability to have a nice, happy, joyful marital relationship. It is based on scientific evidence. So if you want to have a settled, steady, loving relationship in the future, then you must come out of this behavior. You must come out of this loop so that you can build your future. Hence, when it comes to fathers, they play a pivotal role. Today, unfortunately, we see some of our fathers have taken a step back from tarbiyah, step back from having these conversations. They say the mother is many a times with the children, she looks after the children, I'm at work, I'm busy, I come back late at night, or I come back tired, in the weekends there are so many things to do, so they think that it's not their responsibility. In a recent retreat that I had the honor to take part a few weeks ago in Vancouver, we had a retreat for fathers and sons. And in one exercise, what did we do? We asked the sons, the children, they were all from 11, 12 till 16 or so, to say things about their father without their father knowing who the person is. So it was anonymous. And we asked them this question: do you think your father spends enough time with you? 75% of them said no. And it's a reality. They're craving that attention. They're craving that focus. Ask yourself this question as a father. When was the last time you dedicated a day out, you and your son, you and your daughter, went on a particular activity, went for a walk, went for a meal, just you, so that you can have that bond? When was the last time you sat with a young child who's 6, 7 and played with them, invested time, read a book with them, read a story for them before they go to sleep, and made this a regular habit? The recognition that emerges today is, unfortunately, sometimes fathers think that they're being let off the hook, whereas we have some wonderful fathers in Islamic history. May Allah bless that man, Abu al-Aswad al-Du'ali, Radwanullahi ta'ala alayhi, one of the companions of Amir al-Mu'mineen. One day he comes home and he finds his daughter eating honey, something in which he hasn't provided. Honey was an expensive commodity. He asks her, my dear daughter, why? Where did you get this from? Now, sometimes this conversation cannot take place if you haven't developed that rapport, that connection with your son or daughter. How many fathers say, they say to me and others, they say, you know, my teenage son, I said to him, how was school? It was fine. How was your lessons today? Yeah, it was good. Well, they don't speak to me. Every time I ask them, how was the Majlis today? Not really great. That's it. They don't really say much. Do you know why? You haven't invested. You haven't discussed with them matters that they are also interested in. You haven't gone on activities to them. So there's some things which are common. There's commonalities of discussions. Sometimes these kids don't want to discuss topics that are important to you. They want to discuss topics that are important to them. Do you know what's happening for example, in the social media world, that you can have conversations with them, things that are trending, things that are interesting to them, that you can have a nice bonding conversation? So the recognition is Abu al-Aswad al-Du'ali, his daughter, is able to speak to her father. She's not scared. She says to him, Father, a man knocked on the door, said, this is a gift. I asked from who? He said, it's from Muawiyah. And it's for you. So I looked at it, it's honey, and I'm having it. He says to her, my dear daughter, this is not honey. This is poison in the form of honey. Because Muawiyah wants to take the love of Ali away from your heart. She placed 2 fingers, the riwayah says, in her throat and began to take the honey out forcefully and vomit it. She looked at her father and says, no one can take the love of Ali away from my heart. When you have conversations and a bond, this will happen. Sometimes people complain, my daughter is not wearing hijab, my son is not praying. Why? You're not investing. You're telling them pray, pray, pray. But that father-son, father-daughter connection is not there. And if it's not there, they'll just hear things and they'll just do it because you've told them. The moment they go to university or in the outside world, they've stopped practicing because you haven't developed that bond with them. Hence, today, there is a need to look at 10 ways, finally, on how both fathers and mothers could deal with screens, addiction, and the usage of social media. Please focus on these 10, because the purpose of these majalis is for it to be practical, for us to walk away with things that we can implement. And by the way, this is for both the father and the mother, the husband and the wife, to work together as much as possible, yes? In order to come up with as many of these as they can in their life. Number 1, our own conduct when it comes to screens. A study in the University of Michigan has shown that when parents are on their phones quite a lot, kids follow the same path. Kids, for example, in one study by Pew, well-known organization, said 40% or 46% of teens in the United States reported that when they speak to their parents, the parents are distracted because they're on their phones. So they don't give them full attention. If you want your child, your son or daughter, not to be hooked on screens, you should get off them as well. Look at your own conduct as a father or the mother. Are you spending hours before an iPad or your phone? Yes, because they notice. They know how long are you spending on these particular platforms. The Quran says what? Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu lima taquluna ma la taf'alun. Oh, you who believe, why is it that you tell people things and you don't do it yourself? Kabura maqtan inda Allahi an taqulu ma la taf'alun. It's big in the eyes of Allah that you place this contradiction, this dichotomy. Number two, my dear sisters and brothers, delay giving your son or daughter a smartphone. Now I know immediately some of the fathers and mothers will say, but there is always that pressure. They come back and say, my friend at school has a phone and they're 11 or 10. Why can't I have one? Since when do we have to succumb to pressure from our kids? Since when? Some of our sisters and brothers have come to me and said, listen, this wearing hijab at 9, it's difficult. So we give our children a choice. They can choose whenever they wish to wear hijab. And what? And one day they'll come to the realization and wear it by their own choice. I say to them, if one day they wake up in the morning perfectly healthy, nothing wrong with them, and they say, I don't want to go to school today, what's your response? You know, back in Iraq, there's only one response: sandals. Straight away. Yes? What would be your response? You'd say, yes, listen, my dear son, daughter, up to you. Whenever you want to go to school, next year, no problem. I'd like to see that kind of parent. Oh, hold on. Schools, they don't have a choice. Islam, they have a choice. Interesting. The realization, therefore, is when a child comes and says, I want a smartphone because my friends have it, try to reason with them. Try to speak to them. Resist the temptation to give them a smartphone, at least if they're what? 12 or 13. Delay it as much as possible. But also, number 3, do not allow your teenagers and kids to be in social media if they're under 16. Why? What is it that they're missing if they're not on social media? Why do we feel the pressure that we allow them the access, yes, to be in these particular platforms? What kind of images are they exposed to? Of the utmost importance. Number 4, it is greatly emphasized that as parents, we take responsibility through parental controls. Apps, for example, are there to ensure that there is monitoring for kids as far as what is it that they access, the websites that they go to. This mustn't be taken lightly. Similarly, when it comes to asking them, talking about what they access, what they go through, don't just leave them with a phone, for example, and they can access whatever they wish just because you want to give them freedom. Number 5, this is important. Islam says you and I as parents cannot be CCTV on our kids all the time. We can't watch what they're doing all the time. So what we have to do as parents is nurture that powerful ability within them known as dhamir, the conscience. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I've created it for every person. And that's the alarm bell when we do something wrong. Some of our kids, they don't listen to that alarm. And some of us don't listen to that alarm. So what we need to do is from a young age, make them in a position in which they are able to pay attention to those signals and those alarming sounds that they would hear from within when they're about to watch these sites or go to do something they're not supposed to. What do we mean here? Sometimes we see these clips. I saw this wonderful clip that in Kuwait a few years ago, they had a hidden camera and they bought kids who were 8, 9, 10. And they bought them and they couldn't see a camera. And they had somebody ask them, had $500 and a box of PlayStation, the actual console. and said, we'll give you this only if you say, I don't like Imam Hussain. That's it. And the clips they showed is these children who are 7, 8, they would say, we would never do this. Me say, I don't like Imam Hussain? No way. Why? Why are these children expressing their love for Abu Abdullah when they see temptations? When they can easily say, I don't love Imam Hussain, give me the 500. Give me this PlayStation. It's because the parents have nurtured that wilayah, that love of Hussein in their heart. Nobody can remove it, let alone 500 or a PlayStation console. So today, we need to develop that relationship with Allah, that love, that understanding of God that our kids need to nurture from a young age. Leading by example, having conversations, creating the right environment. What do we mean? Many times from a young age, parents, what do? They tell their kids, pray, pray, pray. Do this, this, this. How many conversations do we have with them about God, the beauty of God, the magnificence of God, about paradise, about the rewards of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, about wonderful stories of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam? Really give them that positive, encouraging, optimistic view of Islam and life. So that now you're not always watching them. So now when they have their phone and they come up that particular page or that image or that clip on social media, they immediately turn away. Because they're not doing it because they're scared of you. They're doing it because they love Allah and they want to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hence you find number 6 is spend time with them. Provide alternative sports. Make a family gatherings as much as possible. Number 7, this is very important. If we want to reduce screen time for our kids, ensure the house is spiritually charged. Meaning what? Salah together. Lead jama'at. Have an adhan clock that announces the adhan. Today, mashallah, there are a few amazing products developed by our Shia brothers and sisters. This Ahlul Bayt portal, one of them that I used, I love it. It's amazing, yes? Connected to the internet, plays Quran, du'as all the time, yes? It creates that vibe at home, du'a and Quran and adhan being played at the time of salah, yes? This is important. At times where we feel we are struggling, let's create that vibe. Give them responsibilities when it comes to Jama'at Salah. They will do the adhan. They will prepare their prayer mats. They will recite the dua after the salah, for example. If you can't do it during the day because you're at work, make sure in the weekends it's happening. Or at least in this day and age in the summer, during the night. Likewise, we need to ensure that we practice and give them M&Ms. What are M&Ms? Yes, here it is moderation and mindfulness. What does that mean? That means we get them to understand that excessiveness in everything is unacceptable. It is harmful. Therefore, everything has to be done in moderation, but they have to be mindful, present when it comes to being online and recognize the particular dangers. A beautiful tip, number 9, is the moment we pick up our phones, if we lead by example and teach them, before you unlock it, say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitan ar-rajim. Imagine, before you log on to your email or WhatsApp, someone says, but brother, it's been shown that we human beings do this, unlock their phones 58 times a day. Constantly checking their phones, according to statistics. 58 times I say, A'udhu billah. Honestly, you need to say it 500,000 times. We are on a battle against shaitan, so it doesn't cost you anything. Open the phone, A'udhu billahi minash shaitan rajim. Make the online presence with the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That in itself is beautiful. And finally, very importantly, parents, educators, madrasa teachers, everyone needs to look out for signs of screen addiction, pornographic addiction, or tendency towards certain ideologies. Like what? Like, for example, our sons watching too much of this Andrew Tate, or any of this Andrew Tate. Some of our children, kids, they're so inspired by him. It's as if, he's one of our ulama. Or this toxic masculinity business, right? Or some of our daughters being influenced by Western liberal feminism or stuff. These isms, be careful. Watch out what they're saying. Are they being influenced by certain groups, certain ideologies? Even within Shiism, there are people who are spewing hatred or spewing misconceptions against ulama, marja'iyya, beliefs, azadari. Be careful, be cognizant, be present. in their lives and pick up on these things and have conversations with them with full of love and understanding. And that's why when it comes to a major inspiration to stand up against this barrage of movement that we have to look towards dealing with in a particularly organized way, and that is inspirational lessons from the 10th of Muharram and Sayyid al-Shuhada Aba Abdullah al-Hussein salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. Today, when we study Karbala, we find a number of youth who are brilliant role models for you and I to look at and present for our adolescents and others. They are wonderful individuals who have given their lives in every way. For example, the two sons of Abu al-Fadl Abbas alayhi salam, who were martyred on the 10th of Muharram, according to many narrations. This son of Abu al-Fadl by the name of Muhammad, another by the name of Qasim. They were young. After the Shahada of Abu al-Fadl, they asked permission from Imam Hussain alayhi salam. They went to the battlefield and they were martyred. And we have narrations in historical records that their heads were placed on spears and paraded in Kufa. That these individuals did not only somehow present themselves as faithful, but they demonstrated their faith in the best of ways. And tonight we remember one of those individuals, Qasim, the son of Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam. Because Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam must never be forgotten on these nights. On a night like this, when we remember his son, how many zuwar are there in Jannatul Baqi? How many are remembering the Imam alayhi salam and giving condolence to him during these nights of azab? No doubt very, very few, if any. And Imam al-Mujtaba himself was somebody who would eulogize the 10th of Muharram, who would cry and remember the masa'ib of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. The riwayat says, when this poison had spread throughout his body and Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam was next to him, he was vomiting blood, some of his organs, and all of a sudden he asks Imam al-Hussein, my brother, cover this bowl. So Imam alayhi salam covers it, and as soon as he covers it, who enters? Zainab. She enters the room. She wants to see if Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam is okay. When she leaves, Imam al-Hussein says to his brother, why did you ask me to cover this bowl? Imam al-Mujtaba says, I didn't want my sister Zainab to see this bowl full of blood. I wonder, Amir al-Mu'mineen wanted to protect Zainab. Imam al-Hasan wanted to protect Zainab. Imam al-Hussein wanted to protect Zainab. Yet which bowl did she see on the courtyard in Sham with the head in it? I wonder. Imam al-Mujtaba alayhi salam would look at Imam al-Hussein those moments. He would cry, he would shed the tears. And Imam alayhi salam would say to him, why are you crying, my brother? He would say, La yawm ka yawmuka ya Aba Abdullah. There is no day like yours, O Hussein. I could see the day that you will be martyred and your sanctity will be violated. And that's why Imam al-Hasan couldn't be there on the 10th of Muharram, but he ensured that he would have his sons standing and defending alongside Sayyid al-Shuhada, and that young son of his, the 13-year-old Qasim, the brave, courageous warrior. Yes, he stood there on the eve of Ashura, listening to the sermon of Imam al-Hussein, yet then approaching him, and Imam looked at him. Imam wanted to see his strength, but not for him, for others to admire. He would look at Qasim, says to him, my dear nephew Qasim, what is death to you? He would say, oh uncle, it's sweeter than honey. Yes, he would say that this is something I embrace, that death is nothing that I am afraid of. On the day of Ashura, he demonstrated this beautifully, yet it was hard for him to get permission. The narration says he came and he stood in front of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. He was wearing the turban of his father, Al-Hasan al-Mujtaba. He had the cloak of his father. He had the sword of his father. Then he looked at Imam al-Hussein and said to him, Uncle Aba Abdullah, allow me to go and fight, for I can no longer withstand, and I wish to defend and sacrifice my life for you. Imam al-Hussein says to him, Anta wadi'atu akhi al-Hasan, you are what remains from my brother Hassan. It's difficult for me to let you go. Some narration says that this Qasim would say, oh, Uncle Hussein, it's my father's wish that I go and fight today and I sacrifice my life. Eventually he gets the permission. He goes towards the battlefield. The historians Hamid ibn Muslim and others say, we saw this man, he emerged. His face was like a shining moon, illuminating with light. But he was very, very ferocious in his attacks. He would come and kill many of the army of Umar ibn Sa'ad, ajarakumullah. At that moment, the historians say, whilst he was busy fighting, he noticed that one of his sandals had been broken. He knelt down to fix his sandal. An enemy of God came next to him. Hamid ibn Muslim said to him, oh man, what is it that you want to do? He said, I wish to make his uncle mourn for him. He said, are you really going to end his life? He said, of course I will. He raised the sword and struck the head of Qasim. Qasim collapsed onto the ground. He called, alayka minni salam. Amma ya Aba Abdullah, oh my uncle Hussein, peace be upon you. He calls his uncle. Imam al-Hussein rushes towards where Qasim is. He finds the killer of Qasim. He kills the killer of Qasim. Then he sits next to him. He says to him, oh my nephew Qasim, how painful it is for someone to call me who is like you, and I am unable to save your life or help you. That moment when he carries the body of Qasim, the riwayat says that Imam couldn't carry him properly. The legs of Qasim were being dragged onto the ground. This is how much it broke the heart of Hussein, carrying the body of his nephew in such a way. The poet says, Hussein comes, sits next to Qasim, looks at him, and all of a sudden sees the face of his brother Hassan and says, oh my brother Hassan, I'm sorry. Yes, your son has just gone. Your son has just left this world. When he places Qasim, he places him next to Akbar, and then he says, let the mother of Qasim come and bid farewell. Allahu Akbar. The riwayat says, when the mother of Qasim entered the tent, she saw the head of Qasim split into two. She saw the body of Qasim bruised and injured. She looked towards his body and cried. The poet depicts this image beautifully. He says, she cried, oh son Qasim, I wish I could see you smile once more. I wish I could see you walk once more. Oh Qasim, that split in your head breaks my heart. They didn't hit your head, they shattered my heart. But I ask you, was it only Qasim who gave his life? No, there were other sons of Imam al-Mujtaba. The last one was who? The last one was when Aba Abdullah was alone on the plains of Karbala, when he was surrounded by so many enemies. There was a young man who was the son of Imam al-Mujtaba by the name of Abdullah. He was only 11 years of age. He was looking for Imam al-Hussein. Where is my uncle? He looked towards the tent. There was nobody. He came out. Oh, Uncle Hussein, where are you? He longed to see his uncle. All of a sudden he ran when he saw Imam al-Hussein on the plains of Karbala all alone. The women couldn't catch him. He arrived next to Imam. Imagine a young boy looking at his uncle this way. He looks at Hussein. He looks at the body of Hussein, bruises, arrows everywhere. Then he bursts out crying, Uncle Hussein, who is it that stabbed your neck? Uncle Hussein, who is it that's done this to your chest? All of a sudden there is a man who had come to hit Imam al-Hussein with his sword. So this young Abdullah pushes him away or puts his hand across, and the man severs the hands of this young boy. Then he looks at his uncle. He says, Uncle Hussein, they have severed my right arm. They have taken away my right arm. Imam hugs him, places him on his chest, and says to him, oh my dear nephew, please be patient. We are inshallah in Jannah together. Harmala said, I saw this young boy on the chest of Hussein. I picked up a 3-pronged arrow. وَذَبَحْتَهُ فِي صَدْرِ الْحُسَيْنِ. It's as if Hussein didn't have enough masa'ib. He felt the arrow on the chest when the arrow slaughtered the son of Imam al-Hasan. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين مأتم حسين يا حسين.
کاسی میں نوشاد کا لاتے ہیں لاشا حسین پیٹو سر اہل عزا لاتے ہیں لاشا حسین مادر قاسم نے لاش پہ رو کر کہا آ گئی تم کو قضا لاتے ہیں لاشا حسین سین کا کروں کیا بیان سال تھا وہ 13واں ہائے پر ارماں چلا لاتے ہیں لاشا حسین باپ کا نور نظر اماں کا لگتے جگر خلد پسند آ گیا لاتے ہیں لاشا حسین اماں سے رخ سر طلب کیوں نہیں ہوتے ہو اب کیا ہوا تم کو بھلا لاتے ہیں لاشا حسین لاشا قاسم پہ جا پیٹ کر سر یوں کہا کیا ہوئی تم سے خطا لاتے ہیں لاشا حسین مرنے سے تیرے پسر ہوئیں گے ہر دم اگر گر ہوا ماتم سرا لاتے ہیں لاشا حسین اعظم کل دے بری ہوتے ہیں اب شاہدی کون ہے جو لے بچا لاتے ہیں لاشا حسین کیا کرے یوسف بیان روتی ہے اربا بیبیاں لب پہ تھا اے نوجوان لاتے ہیں لاشا حسین کاسی میں نوشاد کا لاتے ہیں لاشا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین Hussain, Ya Hussain, Ya Hussain, Ya Hussain, Ya Hussain. Wawala hai wawala, 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 wawala hai wawala. سب مل کے کرے اب اہل عذاب، wawala hai wawala, wawala hai wawala. کیسے ہو رقم احوال جفا آدان ستم کچھ ایسا کیا، قاسم کا جسد پامال ہوا بے حال ہوئی ام فروا، قاسم کا ماتم واولا بے کس کا ماتم واولا، قاسم کا غم ہے فروا، واولا ہے واولا، واولا ہے واولا، واولا ہے واولا، واولا ہے واولا، واولا ہے واولا. اس نام نبی کا بچایا ہے، تکبیر کا دیپ جلایا ہے، قرآن کا مان بڑھایا ہے، توحید پہ گئے کو لٹایا ہے، شبیر کا ماتم واولا، دلگیر کا ماتم واولا، یہ اہل عزا کا ہے نوحہ، واولا ہے واولا، واولا ہے واولا. واولا ہے واولا، واولا. ہم شکل پیمبر مارا گیا، 6 ماہ کا اصغر مارا گیا، ہم شکل پیمبر مارا گیا، 6 ماہ کا اصغر مارا گیا، عباس دلاور مارا گیا، شبیر کا دلبر مارا گیا، اکبر کا ماتم واولا، اصغر کا ماتم واولا، زینب کے لبوں پر تھی یہ صدا، واولا ہے واولا، واولا ہے واولا، واولا ہے واولا، واولا ہے واولا، واولا ہے واولا. کیا غربت تھی تنہائی تھی جب شام غریب آئی تھی، ایک ظلم کی بدلی چھائی تھی، پیغام اسیر لائی تھی، غربت کا ماتم واولا، اطرت کا ماتم واولا، سب اہل حرم کی چھین ردا، واولا ہے واولا، واولا ہے واولا، واولا ہے واولا، واولا ہے واولا، واولا واولا، واولا ہے. کیسے ہو رقم احوال جفا آدان ستم کچھ ایسا کیا، قاسم کا جسد پامال ہوا بے حال ہوئی ام فروا، قاسم کا ماتم واولا بے کس سب مل کے کرے اب اہل عزا واولا ہے واولا واولا ہے واولا واولا ہے واولا واولا ہے واولا واولا یا حسین
حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین اس وقت جب کہ زینب دربار میں گئی تھی کھاری نمازیوں سے محفل سجی ہوئی تھی ظالم یہ پوچھتا تھا غازی تیرا کہاں ہے بالوں سے منہ چھپائے زینب یہ کہہ رہی تھی اے میرے بابا جان ہو رہی ہے عزا سر چھپاؤں کہاں اے میرے بابا جان ہو رہی ہے عزا سر چھپاؤں کہاں اے میرے بابا جان ہو رہی ہے عزا سر چھپاؤں کہاں مجمع عام میں بے وطن بے امان آ گیا کارواں اے میرے بابا جان ہو رہی سر چھپاؤں کہاں اے میرے بابا جان ہو رہی ہے عزا سر چھپاؤں کہاں میں بھی ہوں مرضیہ بنت خیر النساء میرے لہجے میں بابا تیری ادا نام زینب میرا تو نے جو رکھ دیا دے دی اپنی زبان اے میرے بابا جان ہو رہی ہے سر چھپاؤں کہاں اے میرے بابا جان ہو رہی ہے سر چھپاؤں کہاں بابا جان میری دا مانگتی رہ گئی بام و در سج گئی جیتے جی مر گئی حلق میں شام میں نام کر سن کر مر گیا ناتواں اے میرے بابا جان ہو رہی سر چھپاؤں کہاں اے میرے بابا ہاتھ کانوں پہ ہے نیل لگا لو پہ ہے اور نشان جو سکینہ کے شانوں پہ ہے ہر نشان سے یہی آ رہی ہے صدا بابا جان اے میرے بابا جان ہو یہی سر چھپاؤں کہاں اے میرے بابا جان ہو رہی ہے عزا سر چھپاؤں کہاں بابا جان یہ تیرا آخری تھا بیان تیری چادر بچا یہ غازی کہاں مر گیا با وفا چھن گئی ہے ردا کہتی ہے بی بیا عباس 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 اے میرے بابا جان ہو رہی ہے عزا سر چھپا وہ کہاں مجمع عام میں بے وطن بے امان آ گیا کارواں اے میرے بابا جان ہو رہی ہے عزا سر چھپا وہ کہاں یا حسین
دل سینے میں جب تک ہے بھولے گا نہ غم تیرا دل سینے میں جب تک ہے بھولے گا نہ غم تیرا آ دیکھ میرے غازی اونچا ہے علم تیرا دیکھ میرے غازی اونچا ہے علم تیرا آ دیکھ میرے غازی اونچا ہے علم تیرا آ دیکھ میرے غازی اونچا ہے علم تیرا زینب کی دعا بن کر ایک وقت وہ آئے گا زینب کی دعا بن کر ایک وقت وہ آئے گا ہر گھر میں سجا ہوگا عباس علم تیرا دل سینے میں جب تک ہے بھولے گا نہ غم تیرا آ دیکھ میرے غازی اونچا ہے علم تیرا آ دیکھ میرے غازی اونچا ہے علم تیرا آ جاتی ہے زہرا بھی زینب بھی زیارت کو آ جاتی ہے زہرا بھی زینب کی زیارت کو جب 8 محرم کو اٹھا ہے علم تیرا دل سینے میں جب تک ہے بھولے گا نہ غم تیرا آ دیکھ میرے غازی اونچا ہے علم تیرا آ دیکھ میرے غازی اونچا ہے علم تیرا تابوت جب اٹھا ہے شبیر کا غازی تابوت جب اٹھا ہے شبیر کا غازی تابوت کے آگے بھی چلتا ہے علم تیرا دل سینے میں جب تک ہے بھولے گا نہ غم تیرا آ دیکھ میرے غازی اونچا ہے علم تیرا آ دیکھ میرے غازی وہ کون سے صدمے تھے شے ٹوٹ گئی جس سے وہ کون سے صدمے تھے شے ٹوٹ گئی جس سے زینب کا اور دوسرا غم تیرا دل سینے میں جب تک ہے بھولے گا نہ غم تیرا آ دیکھ میرے غازی اونچا ہے علم تیرا آ دیکھ میرے غازی اونچا ہے علم تیرا پرچم کا فرارا تھا یہ آس تھی زینب کی پرچم کے فرارا تھا یہ آس تھی زینب کی زینب کے گلے جیسے غم کیسے ہو غم تیرا دل سینے میں جب تک ہے بھولے گا نہ غم تیرا آ دیکھ میرے غازی اونچا ہے علم تیرا آ دیکھ میرے غازی اونچا ہے علم تیرا بازار میں زندہ میں دربار میں ہر لمحہ بازار میں زندہ میں دربار میں ہر لمحہ زینب کی تو سانسوں پہ تھا نام رقم تیرا دل سینے میں جب تک ہے بھولے گا نہ غم تیرا آ دیکھ میرے غازی اونچا ہے علم تیرا آ دیکھ میرے غازی اونچا ہے علم تیرا جب بہہ گیا سب پانی تب سانس تیری ٹوٹی جب بہہ گیا سب پانی تب سانس تیری ٹوٹی تھا سینے کے اندر یا مشکی زمدم تیرا دل سینے میں جب تک ہے بھولے گا نہ غم تیرا آ دیکھ میرے غازی اونچا ہے علم تیرا آ دیکھ میرے غازی اونچا ہے علم تیرا یا حسین 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 الفاتحہ
السلام عليك يا رسول الله السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله الحسين وعلى 9 المعصومين من ذريتك علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والحجة بن الحسن عجل الله فرجك وسهل الله مخرجك وظهورك والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم كل وليك حجة ابن الحسن صلوات الله عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا come here in Muharram because it feels like home.
Muharram at HIC is a place where I learn about courage, love and sacrifice.
It's where I learn to be brave, like Bibi Zainab, Salamun alayha.
Muharram is a time for reflection.
This is where I bring my children to remember the truth.
This is where I learn to be a real Muslim.
Muharram reminds me of who I really am.
This is where I come to remember Imam Hussain alayhi salam.
When I do Matam, I feel the love for Imam Hussain in every beat.
Muharram is a time of inner awakening, and don't miss that opportunity.
Muharram means something different to each of us, but one thing is the same. It brings us together to learn, to mourn, and to serve. But we need your help and donations. Did you know, without your continued generosity, we wouldn't be able to open our doors each night to serve the community and honor the legacy of Karbala? Let's keep the message of Karbala in our lives for years to come.